Welcome to Children of Dionysus. Today's guest is a fantastic actress and someone who's very lovely and very, very talented, Miss Judith Feingold.
Thank you so much for having me.
How you
I will,
doing?
I will try to live up to those things. I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. I invited you today because I have great respect for your talent as an actress. I think that you are the preeminent, female lead in theater. You carry yourself like a female lead. You're a fantastic actress. You have love for the craft. We're both Shakespeare geeks, and so I'm very excited to chat with you and geek out a little bit and find
God, I
out
do know.
your
I feel the
journey.
same about you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So first off, tell these people where you're from.
I'm from where we're all from. I'm from the imagination, but I grew up in upstate New York via like the Black Sea. Um, so many Americans are like, I'm American. Here's the hummus that I bring. So yeah, my family's I guess Ukrainian Jews. We come from Odessa,
Okay.
and we kind of came here as refugees from pogroms. And I think there's like a family legend that someone either did or loved or saw Yiddish Shakespeare.
Really?
So I can blame my roots. Yeah, there's a Yiddish King Lear. I think it's called Comic Lear,
Right.
which
That's
is
right.
hilarious.
That's right. I mean, the
Yeah,
Yiddish theater, there would be no modern American theater without the Yiddish theater. It would not exist. Um,
everybody brings something to it. That's why I love it so dang much.
it's
It's rich. It's not limited.
well, the best thing I've ever seen in the best show I've ever seen. I didn't even. It was in Yiddish. I didn't understand any of what like was being said, but I got the entire story. They had like super titles. It was down here in New York in the Jewish Museum down by Battery Park City. I don't know if you're familiar or if you've been there.
The Dippic, maybe. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's this beautiful
But I bet it sounded hilarious.
it was incredible. It was like I never actually see Fiddler on the Roof, believe it or not. I'm sorry. I should probably get my actor card taken
Same.
away from me, but
I
shame
forgive
on me.
you.
Thank you. But I saw it, and it was about the Yiddish like community when they were coming over at the turn of the 20th century, living in tenements
Yep.
and like sort of they came from Eastern and Central Europe, and like the leaving the homeland and then coming to the new place and bringing the food, but also the grief they felt at leaving all of that behind, and the schism and the fracture that happened. And I think it went through a couple of years, like maybe 20, 30, 40 years, and you saw how they were adjusting to the new world, but they still were longing for wherever they came
Yeah.
from. I think it was Poland is where a lot of them came from in this particular story. But I was struck by the fact that I was like, I know everything that they're going through because it's my parents' story. So I didn't need to speak Yiddish. I didn't need to be Jewish. I didn't need to whatever. I was like, oh, they're talking about the immigrant story. That I just was struck by it. It was a musical, and I'm not a fan of musical, but it was incredible. It was incredible, incredible. I don't even remember the name of the
Yeah,
thing.
let's
But anyway,
you could put a production of that coming from any shtetl in any world, That's I think it's happy and good to remember that a significant chunk of America is immigrants.
right.
And yeah, that's we would be so beige with it.
So do you speak Ukrainian or Yiddish?
So I speak Russian because back when we were there, Soviet times, ura. Um, and actually the theater where I work, we have like this, and this is the beautiful thing about New York. We have this small post-Soviet enclave. We all speak Russian because one of us is from Kazakhstan, one of us is from one of Turkmenistan, and we all speak Russian
Wow.
because yay, Soviet. But it's really cool because we all came to New York with the common idea of telling stories.
I love that. So were you born in Ukraine, or your family is Ukrainian and you were born here?
No, I was born here.
Okay.
We sounds like it's complicated. And I was really lucky also because my mom is a Russian professor, that all the family wears, and had the greatest benefit of growing up with Chekhov and with Tolstoy and with all of these sort of, literary uncles and aunts and Tsvetaeva and Akhmatova and such rich language. Not for it, I would have been chucked out of the nest.
But you can read in the original Russian.
Yes, and know what? It makes a huge difference in Chekhov. My mom and I, sometimes we do a little seminar in translation because it gets really wacky. Uh, in some translations, in Three Sisters, very nerdy right away, but I'm getting her. In one translation, it reads, and in one translation, it reads, "He died on my watch." In another one, it reads, "I killed him." And if you're making a choice as an actor, you might want to know.
Oh wow.
The translation is actually "It rests on my soul," which we don't have a verb for, sadly.
Um, I'm always struck by the depth and the. I think pound for pound, uh, the the Russians slash Slavic peoples are, I think, the best artists in my opinion. When you take ballet, literature, when you take Chekhov, just Chekhov alone, when you take like it's exceptional. When you take Rachmaninoff and these guys, and it's just like all of this greatness came out of this one people, and I just think it's fantastic.
Oh, we
And
found a file.
huh?
File. Cute. Another, my first love's Lorca. And I think the common thread is you have people who have been exposed to life, but the thing that makes them an artist in any culture, in every culture, hopefully all cultures, is that rather than taking those experiences and passing them on as harm, there's this weird artist alchemy where you take experience, which could be, horrendously painful and incredibly depressing, and you sort of spin it into gold for the next guy. And instead of, lashing out back and causing harm, you tell a story. And it's this sublimation alchemy that artists do. And I kind of think of it as this little golden trapeze between souls, I guess. There's artists who traverse that. That's what makes an artist different from someone who may not have that inkling or that capacity. I think it's a really special thing.
I love that. Um, is that something? Did you always feel that way, or was that something that you developed as you know, did you were on this journey as an artist, as an actress, as a producer?
Well, I was the unapologetically with the copy of Hamlet. Everybody has some heavy things in their life,
Yeah.
Just you take the average 8-year-old. But I was lucky enough that I found this old copy of Hamlet, and books are friends, so I clutched the thing. And I just remember thinking, my God, he's talking about what I'm thinking of. And I have a friend who lived so long ago and left this for me. It was the most unifying antidote to loneliness. So I think that's a core thing with, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. We all have a first story that helped us and connected us and grounded us to the earth and others.
So how old were you when you
Not to get all
grasped?
hippie about it.
How hippie's okay? It's all good. What How old were you when you discovered him?
No, I didn't understand all language, but I understood that someone was speaking to me specifically as the reader, whoever the reader is, whoever the next guy is. And I think part of what we can do that's a little bit noble, yeah, it's also incredibly fun and we want to have a good time, but we all want to leave something of meaning for the next guy to help, I think.
Beautiful.
Even if it's a laugh.
So walk me through when you were growing up, where specifically in upstate New York did you grow up?
Binghamton. It's the university that would hire both of my parents in the 80s.
Binghamton.
But Rod Serling was from. So I'm from the zone, I guess.
And what was that like for you growing up with them?
Um, kind of a small city. It was a little rough after IBS. That's the American story. It's a small city that is trying. It was really beautiful at the turn of the century. We had the EJ shoe factory for everyone who came over. And that left. Then IBM, and then that left. But the town is still trying, and I love it. There are so many devoted artists who live there and like hold out this bastion. And the high school, but you could also go, 5 minutes outside the city, and it's just old farms. I was really lucky.
So did you grow up going to farms and stuff like that and playing around with animals?
Yeah, you're gonna out me as a dork, but I did. Um, my first job was at a stable at hand. Come for me. But I went up there, I think at age 14, and we couldn't afford it, so I mucked stalls. It was also character building. I was lazy physically, so I mucked stalls in exchange for lessons and to hang out with the horses and pretend I was in some fantasy, obviously. 14, you know. I wanted to be Gandalf.
At 14?
Yes, specifically.
Not Galadriel, you wanted to be Gandalf.
Gandalf has the better beard. Better beard. Good option.
I love it. So uh you muck stalls with basically you were cleaning up manure and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Um
Not such a shitty job.
what did someone make you do that, or you were like, look, I know I'm lazy, I gotta figure this out?
I was bizarrely eager to do it.
Oh
I
really?
was bizarrely eager to do it. It was an experience. I loved it. There were these big, sort of magical looking, beautiful creatures, and I wanted to pretend to be there. And, it's one of those formative things. You go, you hide in the hayloft with your book. I was that kid. I was that kid.
So your mother is a Russian professor. And did you
Yes.
mention what your father does?
He's a mathematician, and guess what? I did not inherit that.
Okay.
Not what I did.
So how do you get a drama kid from a mathematician and a Russian professor?
I'm old enough and lucky enough to be old enough that I didn't, I'm gonna get on my favorite soapbox. It was actually quite a boon to be raised without too many screens around.
Right.
It's not like we were, living old country, but little bit old country. And um, yeah, I'm pretty ancient, so computers were relatively new. And um, we didn't really have cable for a while, and so we just kind of felt like pretended and played. And that we're never really bored anymore. We don't let ourselves be bored.
Right.
Boredom's great. Boredom is the mother of invention, and loneliness can be okay too. And you just you develop an inner life and an imaginative capacity that is so enriching for life. It's so helpful in life. And I don't know, I don't think it's an accident that a wave of anxiety became prevalent just around the same time as a wave of connectivity. And I don't know. I was lucky enough to just be old enough to miss that growing up. I think it helped.
What were some of aside from Hamlet, like what were some of the things that influenced you as an artist?
Oh my God, Victor Hugo, Dumas. Um, I love Dumas. Uh, there's a fantasy. The Count of Monte Cristo I read like 20 billion times, but I never knew he was writing about his father. Uh, General Dumas, who is like the forgotten hero of the French Revolution. He was his mother was Haitian,
Right.
and he became a general and lived in this little world in France that didn't exist very long. They went backwards very fast after, but for a brief amount of time, he was a hero to his men. And yeah, it was a really, really beautiful story, especially when I found that out. But just reading, 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 munching up books and imagining and pretending and, coercing my friends to do Hamlet with me in the hallway of the high school and sort of quasi being indulged. I just wanted to do it. I almost went into comp lit, but it was an autopsy of the things that I loved for their vitality. I just wanted to do the thing.
I love it.
And I
I
think
mean,
we have the best job.
what was that?
I think we have the best job.
We do. We
We
do.
have a
And
cool job.
and you do mostly theater, right?
I had a very lucky break into film. Coming out of COVID, weirdly. We were all sadly trawling backstage in Actors Access, and uh, I found a film that was being shot up in New Hampshire in a little like 12-person bubble, cast of three. It was a World War II story. I got the Europe thing going on, so I applied, and after some really, really lovely, lovely interactions, I was offered the part. And I went and shot it, and it was a film, but since we had the luxury of a little more space and time coming out of lockdown, we were able to rehearse it like a play. So I could not have had a more lovely gold paved road into film than that. I think acting is acting. It's just a more intimate audience, the lens. But I've become a little bit addicted to film since it's really fun. I might have a problem.
Now you've been working on a film for quite some time about a role that you love and I think you're pretty perfect for. Can you talk to us a little about that?
Yeah, so the theater company I'm part of, Nuance Theater, John Desautels is the artistic director, and he is one of the most generous directors. He's about the actor, he's not about the ego, and he's about the story, and that's why I've stayed with him so long. I respect that deeply. It makes it so much more fun. We have had a Macbeth in the works for many years now, and by many years, we spent years on just the dramaturgy and the piecing together of the doubling of the roles to make sense into one cohesive arc. I just love Shakespeare, I can't keep my hands off it. You can't keep your hands off it, and it's incredibly rich, specific material as an actor. It is the Olympics of crafting, I think, with the most ridiculously specific, beautiful language. So we've had this long, rich process. We were going off Broadway, and COVID happened and things happened, and we wanted a consummation for our actors. They deserved it. They had been loyal to the project, and there was beautiful work in it. And so we are in development of potentially a feature film, and we hope it's gonna. We always want to approach the story not taking for granted that the audience will have heard before or it's been told before. I think we can get really complacent in our storytelling, and you miss so many of these beautiful, incredible, informative details. So we just want to roll around in it. And it's a new medium, and it's very exciting what you can do with that as well. It's different medium, same story. And that is what we are working on.
What is it about that story, Lady Macbeth? Well, Macbeth, sorry. It's kind of her story. A lot of the time, a large part of that is she's very definitely a driving force of that play. What is it about that story that appeals to you?
Everyone is human, even the witches. I think the witches were human beings who were harmed past humanity. And they are incredibly motivating. They are to Macbeth what Claudius is to Hamlet, I think, and they prick the action into action. And we're going to have them omnipresent. And I think it's really important, without giving things away, I think it's really important to recognize a cycle when you see one. Therefore, it's sort of a parable and a warning. I think it's very much a warning. Um, the darned thing about Macbeth is that he says he's waded too far in blood to go back. He hasn't. He could repent at any time, at any time. And I think these things are universal and continue to happen in the world because the writer knew humans and knew human nature and must have been an incredible observer of the human mind and heart. And those things are consistent. Those things do not change. There was a wonderful production with Patrick Stewart, and they made a big Stalin reference. You could do it with Putin. You could do it in North Korea. Any dictator, essentially, with bunker syndrome could stand to read this play.
What is bunker
You get
syndrome?
the sycophants around you. You're in the paranoia chair. You get the sycophants around you. He speaks about it. He has this fantastic line about he has no true friends. He just has mouth honor, breath. And those around him are only around him, you know, because he happens to be wearing the crown right now. He's traded for a high seat and known it too late. The only true valuable things in life. Which is the trust of others, I think. The trust and therefore the love of others.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a warning.
Why do you think, I mean, it seems like such a common pattern, which I think is why this story is so universal. And so we're still, it was written 400 years ago and you're making a movie about it. There's probably thousands of theater companies all over the planet doing that play, doing all of these plays.
Resurgence. Yeah.
What was that?
I think it's going to become timely again. I long for a time when it isn't timely.
What is it about the human condition, do you think, that has us fall into these patterns?
I don't think he ever writes a two-dimensional person with care. It's a fast play. It happens like a conflagration. And yet we're treated to the innermost thoughts of everyone in it. And if it doesn't resound with us, we're not listening, or we're not being honest with ourselves. It should be uncomfortably resonant with us. And with Lady M, it was a little difficult, it's hopefully an opposite point of view. It was difficult to craft it at first because we're not rational beings, we're rationalizing, but how do you justify doing what they've done? I don't think they're psychopaths. If they were psychopaths, they would sleep perfectly well at night. And they never sleep again well, without night terrors and hallucinations and waking up screaming and shaking in the night. And it's this, it's very like Therese Racan. It's like the nature of guilt. We do it to ourselves. If we have any scrap of moral thread to us and have that capacity for empathy, and the fact that they do somewhere have humanity and empathy means that they are undergoing surgery to the soul without that anesthesia. And we as the audience have to be on the edge of that, gripping our seats as well. For it to be fully told, I think, for it to be human. I don't know if that answered that.
It was a great answer. Why do we do this to ourselves then? Because it's such a common theme, that sort of rationalizing thing, right? I'm in a complete accordance. Like, I used to think, oh, we were rational, but the older I get, like, Jesus, I was like 50-year-olds, 70-year-olds are just doing stupid shit. And I was like,
kind of you to think that. No, we're not.
You've had 7 decades. Why are you making this? And we keep doing it. And you'd think position, you'd think wisdom, you think age or whatever, but the more you read about history, the more you live in the world, and you realize, Jesus Christ, it's a miracle any of this functions at all.
It's terrifying to realize that. And I not to get all dark, but we go into it with this naive sense that the adults are in charge, and then we're like, oh no, it's us. Oh God, it's us. Wait a minute, it's us. And you realize that generationally, a lot of wisdom can be lost. Right. Hence, plays are good. But it's also Yes, 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 yes. Is look at the friggin' Bronze Age collapse. So much can be lost in so little time. But I think with individuals, it's important to realize, and Shakespeare obviously highlights this in blinding relief. Again, we are not rational always. We are rationalizing. And here's my hot take. I think it's really rare in history, in human history, that anyone truly believes that they are the bad guy
Right.
because we justify ourselves. It's why a victim mentality, you always, just, I go to my family history. We look at World War II and we look at Germany as this freakish anomaly. And yet it came out of World War One.
Mm-hmm.
Scapegoats are easy. Scapegoats feel good. Look at America right now. And if you have a population that feels they've been wronged, regardless of any objectivity, feels they've been wronged, they may have, they may not have, whatever. You have a very dangerous thing because you have a population or even a single person who really feels justified doing anything. It's either preventative or retaliatory. And look at Macbeth. He even says, I can try to leap on the horse. I can go over the other side of the horse. I'm so eager to get on the horse. I have nothing to make the horse of my dream go except ambition, and that's not a good enough reason, and he knows it. I think, his wife unfortunately comes in after. Sorry about that, but I think it's a really clear-minded moment that he has of I cannot weigh myself greater than another man just because I want what he has.
Mm.
And it takes several brutal pricks of the spur into his sides before he acts. And the moment it is done, he wishes it undone. The moment it's done, he wishes he had never done it. But up till then, it's rationalizing. I'm afraid it's rationalizing. He's been passed over for a promotion. Fine. It's like Iago. Nothing he says that's been done to him really justifies what he does. I think even he's shocked it works. But he does it. So yeah, I think we can't keep our fingers off of Shakespeare because remarkably for someone writing in that time, he had such an understanding of what goes on, that imp of the perverse, as Poe puts it, that unaltruistic impulse that we have to learn to quell really in infancy, or we become very damaging potentially.
God, you've said so many things that have that victimhood mentality. It's like it's that old thing. It's the hero and the villain have the same wound. It's how they respond to the
Yes,
wound that determines, right? And so the
yes,
villain
and
the villain says, someone hurt me.
mhm.
I'm gonna hurt them. I'm gonna get them first to make sure no one ever hurts me again. And the hero says, I was hurt, someone hurt me. I'm gonna make sure no one else gets. That's the only real difference, but it's the same
Yeah.
wound.
And
Sorry, I cut
sometimes
you
we
off.
call them, no, no, no. Sometimes we call them one or the other, just depending on who's writing the history book
Right.
or the
Right.
play.
Right.
It's a very tricky thing to mention. It's a very nuanced thing to mention because there are true victims. There is victimizing going on rampantly in every state in America right now. And there have been since its inception. And you can argue that a lot of actions, right or wrong, are fully justified. But again, this is why we need plays to talk about it. A play
Mm.
allows us to put this in an arena without our actual hands on it and look at it. Look at it somewhat objectively because it's happening to the actors. I really think it's a strong function of storytelling and dreaming as in our evolution. I think it's really, really vital. It's not at all a frivolous pursuit.
You mentioned Hitler, and first of all, I think it's such a poignant thing for you because a lot of people just say, "Oh, the Nazis, bad," bad, like they just sort of write it off. First of all, that's a mistake because you need to understand why great evils were committed in order to prevent it or at least identify it before they start to happen. But for
by
you to
very
be
normal people.
right, right, because there's a book called, I think it's something normal men or something to the effect when it talked about German police officers that eventually with time committed worse and worse atrocities. And these were regular guys with
Yeah.
families. I forget the title of the book. I read it a couple of
For
years ago.
ordinary evil, I think.
Something
Something like
ordinary,
that.
something normal, something whatever. But these were just German officers prior
Yeah.
to Hitler coming into power. And they were regular guys. And then as the Nazis started coming into power, they started committing more and more atrocities. But just through like frog being boiled in water. Nobody even
Yeah.
understood that that's sort of what was going on until, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is what you've done. But for you to say that as a Jew and say, well, let's look at the thing, I commend you for that, because it's
Thank you.
easy for us to be like my group and whatever, but it's like, hold on, can we try to understand so that
No
we
one is
prevent?
immune.
No one is immune to it, and
It's yeah, it's very dangerous not to.
it's so dangerous.
I'm very disturbed by Netanyahu. I'm very disturbed by Netanyahu. And so it's very, very important to look at these things unflinchingly and say, this was not some monstrous anomaly. It was monstrous and it was human. We know thyself. We have to know ourselves in order to not get lost, not get lost in our own rationalizations. We do it as actors. We justify, we craft, we justify. And again, if you're crafting something like Iago or Lady Macbeth or whoever, and you say, I would never do that, how do you act it truthfully? Well, this is why, again, it's important to examine these things unflinchingly in fiction, in plays, in literature, in poetry, in film. Because if we don't dissect it there and get to know it there, it will grip us by the throat in life.
Do you what? Why do you personally think? Because I think that's brilliant, and I do believe that stories were created. There used to be like, oh, the moral of the story. That was a thing that people said,
Yeah.
because that there's a moral, there's something that you say, and I think it's different from I definitely think it's different from propaganda or an agenda.
Yeah.
Those are different
Yes.
things, because I think a moral of the story is like, okay, these are the mistakes we've all made as human beings universally. Let's
Yeah.
present to you where this road will lead, so you
Yeah.
don't end up making that same mistake, because we have 15,000 years of civilization
Yes.
to inform us across all these different cultures that have, maybe some have had contact with one another and many have not, and you're finding
Yeah.
the overarching metaphor, which is really what a metaphor is. It's sort of a meta truth. And so
Yes.
why do you think that we, knowing this on some level, because we're the same animal that existed 1,000 years ago, generally
Sure are.
we've got the power of gods in our hands, right? But we're really the same animal that's going to die, whatever, pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think we don't allow ourselves, or we are prevented from looking at these historical things that could give us a broader perspective and a more nuanced look at humanity?
It's a complex question. I'm going to try to answer it as best I can.
Okay.
I think you have to look at governments
Okay.
because they do have agendas, although I think some people in them, if we give the benefit of the doubt, some people in them are attempting a moral code and a code of conduct, assuming that there is like a universal human morality with fluctuation for culture, with fluctuation for circumstance, with fluctuation for all of that. I know we're very West centric. We're in the West. But assuming there is some sort of all humans laugh, all humans feel loss,
Right.
some sort of basic human thing of, with normal psychology, I should not do harm. The Hippocratic Oath, I should not do harm.
Right.
I believe there is, because we certainly see instances of altruism in other forms of life. Why the heck can't we have one? We have higher thought. I think our higher thought gets in our way. Maybe we have too much consciousness for our own good. Who knows?
Okay.
It's weird how that developed. But I also think we, give us a little leeway because we are born into this generationally. And we're assuming and hoping that wisdom will be passed down and learned from. And that is simply not always the case. Everybody is just sort of thrown in, born, raised as best they can. They may be in a war zone. They may be in middle America. We don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that the stories we are told about ourselves become a vicious cycle. So it's very, very hard, even with something like the internet, to sort of check in with each other, mid-flow, mid-human. Historians and politicians can warn us about patterns and things, but we are in what we are in, and what we interact with daily informs us largely. So I think if everyone were doing very well and not starving and not in a war zone, it would be much easier to sort of get together and go, what should we do as humanity? But it's much messier than that. It is far messier than that. We have these stories to go between and kind of tell us about ourselves and keep telling us about ourselves and how we hope life will be. Some people say that, at least in the West, religion used to play a much more overarching, imposing part of that. Nietzsche would say we killed God, bad for us. I don't know. I do think we need stories to tell us about ourselves. I think it's very disconcerting to be without them.
What
I don't know. It's very difficult.
I love that we do need stories, and I think we do. I don't know if we even have a choice, to be honest. Like, I really do believe that we just tell. If we're not being told stories, we tell ourselves stories. Yeah. We infer shit. We either make stuff up. Like, nobody is actually truly living in full reality, because I don't even know if that's possible. I think
it's too hard.
It's too hard, first of all. But if you actually saw things raw in their real form, Jesus, I mean, how do you prevent from being nihilistic? Because does, you know what I mean? Like, why does a 4-year-old have cancer? Why does my family member suffer in the way they, you know what I mean? Why is somebody being tortured right now I don't know. But
I don't know.
You're talking about stories.
Yeah.
I think it's also the quality of the stories and the storyteller, right? Because look, if Marvel called me today and said, Laris, I want you to play a superhero, I would in a heartbeat. You guys hear me?
Laugh all the way to the bank.
Thank you. Disney, call me. I'm your guy, right? Like, I'll play the hell out of it. But the difference between playing like a modern that's a story, that's a form of story, and say the Brothers Karamazov. Like,
there's nothing wrong with entertainment, by the way.
Nothing wrong with entertainment. We need that too. But I think it's the depth of story and the nuance, and how, like, you can read that book, that novel, over and over, and there are layered aspects of it. Yeah. And it seems to me that
and you come away larger
all day. Well, it's like eating a steak as opposed to eating fast food.
Yes, it's nutritive.
Right. There's like steak and vegetables, and you've got fresh fruit, and like all this stuff when you're eating these things.
Yes. I think the best thing about this was said by Lorca. I'll come back to Lorca again. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Oy. He said the greatest thing, I'll butcher it in quoting, but he said the most elevated function of art, the function of the artist, is to dip a cup into the well of the water of the people and serve it back to them in a beautiful cup so that they will drink and understand themselves. Okay. Oh my God. And that's in translation. I'm sure it was more beautiful in Spanish. Dip into the well of the people, serve it back to them in a cup that is beautiful so that they will drink and understand themselves. You can't just soapbox, because we will become bleak and tune out. You have to find some storytelling metaphor, some allegory, something to help with that. And I think that's the best way I can put what we're talking about, because it's not just entertainment. It does expand you. It does get you to look at it. It grows empathy.
I mean, first of all, I'm gonna get your reading list after this because I thought I read books. Like this is fat. You're turning me on to like
I
this
warned you I'm a
is.
nerd.
Oh, I love it. Let's geek out all day. But as a kid, because most kids are like picking their nose or playing whatever. Like, was it the
It's
influence
not
of
that
your
deep.
yeah? Well, was it the influence of your parents that made you say like, let me read a book, or you were just naturally like, there's knowledge, there's good stuff here. I need it in my brain.
It was my mom.
God
My
bless your
dad
mother.
speaks math. He speaks math. My mom read to me. That is that
Really?
that grew my soul. I owe her my soul because she read to me with so much love. She read me the freaking unabridged Les Miserables. It taught me empathy. These things are malleable. It taught me to look at others. It taught me to feel for others. I would not necessarily have had that naturally. It is no merit of mine, but that means it can be fostered and grown. Hence, we should go see a play. We have to. And my sister also worked for a little while in the prison system out in Kansas, and she had a lot of insight about that. More and more and more people she spoke to in there told her, if I had had an outlet, one outlet, anything, I need not have been in here. Like, we have to. And again, it's so hard. There keep being wars. There keeps the poverty is everywhere, and not just financial poverty. These things, we just have to keep connecting to each other. It's the only answer I can think of. It's the only thing. Like, humans need an outlet. They can't just speak. We have to sing sometimes. We have to dance. It's like the first cultural things any human with 2 feet did. And we did it communally. We did it together. And I love theater and film because it's the only art form that you really cannot do in a bubble. By nature, it's communal. Get off my soapbox now.
No, stay up there. I love it. How do you personally keep yourself? Because the most brilliant people on the planet, I think every age has its like, right. You had the robber barons at the mid 19th century. Then you had the railroad mavericks, right, around
Yeah.
the same time. Then you had the John D. Rockefellers and the industrialists at the turn of the 20th century. Prior to that, you had kings and lords and whatever. 50, 500 years before that, you had warlords that were going. Like you always had the most brilliant people always congregated in one thing, wherever the greatest power, wealth, and status was. This is the story of mankind. It is what it is. But now, so many of the most brilliant people are have congregated in one place. I think it's shifting now, but for the last, I think, 30, 40 years, Silicon Valley, and they've put all of their energy into technology. And basically the brightest people on the planet are now solely focused on keeping us connected. I mean, this will be on YouTube, right? So
Hello,
and I
YouTube.
use it as well, right? Like, but they've all been concentrated on keeping us connected to this one thing. How do you
Mm-hmm.
personally keep that at least at bay? Because it seems you still have managed to like be your mother's influence and these great stories are still moving through you. You have managed. You have a beautiful soul, and it was something that I noticed immediately. I was like, she's nice. It's gonna be okay.
Oh my
like
goodness.
like it's gonna be fine, right? Like some people
The
just do
nicest
that, and
thing
you
I've
have
ever
that
been
energy.
told.
But you have this loveliness that just emanates from you, and clearly your mother's influence and your own you fostered that in yourself as well. How do you keep yourself guarded from that on a day-to-day basis?
Well, look, I can be as ugly as that. First of all, oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna stitch that on a pillow and sleep on it at night. I can be as ugly as the next guy. It's an active thing.
Right.
Everybody has bad days. Everybody, look, we're in New York City. Everybody is stressed and strained. And when you're doing this with your hands, it's really hard to, um, we get into such tunnels.
Right.
Um, Training helped me. Actor training helped me. I trained here at the Des Hotel studio. I trained with John in Meisner. I love it because its nature is connective. Like we said before, you cannot do it without the other guy. And it's this practice of sort of putting your heart in the other person's hands and going, here, I trust you. And to really do that is pretty terrifying, but so vital. It probably for life as well as acting. Um, in terms of YouTube, in terms of all the connectivity that we have, look, they can be wonderful tools. Look, filmmakers have so many more tools now than they have ever had, and it's less financial gatekeeping to it. You can make a film with an iPhone. It's brilliant for a young filmmaker coming up. And I think, not to talk about AI, but it leads to AI and all of that. My God, that could be so good medically. There are so many arenas where it could be brilliant. It can't replace the soul. Not to keep talking about souls, I mean the humanness. I don't even mean it in a religious way. I mean the humanness, the thing, the you behind the eyes, the universe behind the eyes that we keep have to trying to connect to with these words and poems and music and whatnot. Conversely, screens can be incredibly isolating and dehumanizing. And I do see it sometimes. I do see it. You sometimes go about the world and you kind of realize, oh, that person is looking at me as if they are looking at an app and they just clicked out.
Oh, God.
We can become too used to it. And I think the difference is that everybody's a little bit brave on the internet. There's this anonymity.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to deal with consequence. It's really important. The first time you really hurt somebody's feelings on the playground, you see it in their eyes and you go, oh my God. Oh my God. I wouldn't want that done to me. I won't do that again. And so that's important. We evolved for, small communities, really, for communities. We evolved for it. And now we have this glass between us. And I think it's okay as long as I don't know. I was lucky. I wasn't raised on the internet, but whereas we used to go to the oldest person in the village, now we go to Google.
Yeah.
But
Or
these
Chat
things,
GPT.
it's important to remember that these things are also, they have people on the other end of them who may have their own agendas. And I will just say, take a survey of information. Don't take it as gospel truth. Google is not God. Google is not infallible. Google takes surveys of what information is out there, which was put out there by other humans. So just, you have the best app. Use your mind and it will not fail you. We just get cut off from our instincts, I think, and our intuition as well, our communicative powers.
Yeah, human beings, I think, are phenomenal. I think, I mean, our brain is just this incredible thing, but not just the brain. I mean, the Greek word for soul is psyche.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when that's operating and two psyches can connect with one another, I think that's what you, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you mean, is like these two
That is
souls
what
are
I mean.
connecting. It's like the meeting of the minds. It's like you and I are,
Yeah.
we are in this thing together in this
Yeah.
moment in time right now.
Yes. We're naked monkeys floating on a rock, but we can talk about it.
Right.
It's bonkers, you
Right.
know? It's
Um,
absolutely mind-blowing, the fact that our minds can perceive that they're blown.
isn't that crazy?
Yes, it is.
We can sort of come up from, like, we're in the thing, but we can also separate and come up from the
Mhm.
thing and observe the thing,
Yep.
which I think is um phenomenal. There was
Everybody's in
this,
the mud, but we're looking at the stars.
well, that's another thing as well, is like, we, because of the light pollution, we don't see stars. in major cities anymore. And I think being able to see the night sky,
Yeah.
it gives us perspective. It reminds us how grand the heavens are, how
Yes.
small we are, but also our connectedness to something ancient. I was something that you were talking about in the beginning. It was like we're no longer bored. I started like just like sitting for 15 minutes,
Yeah.
like in my room and staring out into space. And then I had
It's
this
good.
thought. I've had this thought the other day. I was like, how many people have lived in this room?
Right? What a fantastic thought. What a fantastic idea. I don't know. What were their lives like?
Right.
Did
I,
they do that same thing?
like this building is 100 years old. How many hundreds or maybe thousands of people have walked in this room? What was life
Yeah.
like in 1925 when the building was built?
Who built it?
Who built it? Like what fears did they have?
Yeah.
What did they fall in love? Did someone die in this? I don't know. You know what I mean? And it's just like you can only have those thoughts when you shut off, when you disconnect from all the other stuff. And you
Yeah.
kind of just realize that, oh my God, we're connected to something bigger, to life.
Yes, that's vital. That is such, I love that you said that. It's the best acting advice I was ever given was find something bigger than yourself. And it's hard. Look, we're experiencing our lives and it our own feelings are, well, we're feeling them, so it's overwhelming and it can cut us off from others, but it's the antidote. It's the antidote is to look at other people's lives and you won't lose yourself. You will grow yourself. Makes any sense.
Absolutely. How much of that growth do you think is our personal responsibility?
Once we know we can do it, once we know we can do it, you come up as a kid, you're really in somebody else's hands. Hopefully they're loving ones. Not everybody gets that chance.
No.
And those who don't have a much harder road. It's a much harder road to show kindness if you've never been shown it. Obviously, that sounds like a fortune cookie thing, but um, I think even with that harder road, again, it's that beautiful thing about artists. You hear about them; they often have very miserable lives, and yet they choose to make art. They choose to make art for someone. Someone you don't make art for yourself only. I think there's a really cool thing in the Patsy Rodenberg Shakespeare book in the beginning. I might be making this up. Somebody might have written it in there, but we talk about an artist being gifted. You give a gift, you give it. You don't hoard it, you give it. It's silly, but it applies. And yeah, I do think it's an individual responsibility, and like begets like. So you can create a good thing.
Have you, how do you, with that said, right? Like, because like what I hear from that is, the environment can definitely shape us, will shape us.
Yes.
Obviously, your mother did, and your father did, and the town where you grew up in that did as well. How do you personally, with the theme of personal responsibility, how do you personally curate your environment so that you're as nourished as you can be to live the life that you actually want to live?
I lose perspective a lot. I get very crotchety. I'm not always I'm behaving for YouTube. No, I can get as lost in it as anybody. And I think, oh my God, yeah, the great phrase going around is go touch grass, but really go touch grass. It's harder in the city because the city is so pressurized and we get stressed. Life is going to be, I think, increasingly stressful on individual levels, and stress does isolate us and it makes us lash out. I'm as guilty as anyone. Maybe more. Uh, uh, you know what nourishes you is the funny thing. You lash out, it relieves tension, it doesn't feel good after.
No.
It does not feel good after. Um, yeah, you need the breath when it's hardest to take one. I will say that. Get very stressed and overwhelmed. But I mean, luckily for us, like like David Bowie said, in art you can crash your airplane. it's easy to lose track of that because what we do here is so pressurized, and New York itself is just such a financial crazy thing to undertake that it just feels so high stakes all the time. Presuming nobody's a nepo baby, but yeah, I think the thing I talked to a lot of people about this week, that a lot of artists just kind of came up into the theater. I loved it. Walk-ups, just walk-ins, theater enthusiasts wanting to study or take part in things. And they all just said, I know it's a crazy thing to give my life to, but I need it and I love it. I would just say keep remembering at some point, even in the midst of all your stress of auditioning and getting work and all of that, all of the business of it that isn't the fun part, at some point you fell in love with this and your soul needed it. You needed it. Others need it too. Imagine never hearing music, reading a book, or dancing again. We need art. Yeah, just keep breathing and trying to remember why we love it, why we need it. I'm happiest when I'm working on a project. Really am. It's like breathing, it's like singing. It's not, it's harder between projects because I want to get back to Valhalla and do it again.
I'm always struck by how bright people are in this city. How brilliant, how talented, and across the spectrum, even outside of the theatrical community. Just, I've got some friends in finance, some friends in the business, and it's just like everyone, like so many people are just super geniuses. It's kind of like all the best from wherever they came from congregate in one place, and it's wild, the galaxy brains that exist in New York. And unless you're in the city, you don't understand it. And I try to explain it to people like, oh, why would you live? There's shit on the street and homeless people. And it's kind of like, I run into geniuses all the time. That's all I can say. And the energy is there. In what way is that for you, or from what you've seen, or from your own personal experience? Is that pressure cooker a good thing for the work?
Galaxy brain. It's a really good point about New York. It's a special place. Some of the guys on the street are geniuses too.
Yeah.
It's a real, because they came here. Right. Look, we're all a paycheck away from it. And that's the hardest part about New York is
right.
The impulse to go, oh my God, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? It's so immediate. Some of the most wonderful people are here. I think we just have to not give into that New York thing of never talking to each other. I think we have to keep communicating, even just within New York, obviously within the whole country, but we have to keep connecting people. All of these best and the brightest and the coolest and the awesomest, and I couldn't do what the financial guys do because I don't have that brain.
Well, those guys, they all burn out by 30. They all get coke addictions, and then by 30 they just retire early. No, I'm serious. Like, I know so many guys are like, I made $20 million, but they're just done. Their brains are no longer, they're just like, I don't want anymore. But they're
the dog that caught the bumper. I have it. I'm flapping in the wind. Where do I go? Oh God, I don't know. It's a funny pursuit. It depends on what you're after.
Right.
We live in the, God, what stage of capitalism are we? I can't even say the word capitalism. Where
I don't know there were stages. Are there stages?
We're in a late one, whatever it is. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, there's a misconception that there's this higher satisfaction the more money you make. I think above basic human need, it doesn't pertain. There are other non-quantitative things. There are qualitative things that we deeply need, and are not necessarily conducive in a structure like this. But we need to go to Prospect Park, go touch a tree, go talk to the guy doing the jerk roast on Sunday. Go to Flatbush, go to Prospect Park. Just go talk to other humans.
They actually did a study, and I think it's about $80,000 is roughly around like the point. I mean, they say it's like $80,000, and then there's like another jump at maybe $20,000, $30,000 a month, but north of that, there's no real difference in terms of the, and I learned this from these guys. They're like, bro,
Thanks,
like
the guys.
80 grand a year is okay.
Oh, a year?
Yeah, well, a year, but a year is okay. They go, but like life changing really gets to 30 grand, but a month. But after 30 grand a month, they're like, it really, nothing really changes that much for you, which is a shit ton of money. I mean, $30,000 a month is an incredible amount of money. But there are moments, just to
Maybe
your
too
point,
much.
huh?
Yeah. If it loses value, if it's not connected to things that you're making or building or doing or
Yeah,
giving,
yeah, yeah.
it sort of disconnects with our very real grounded sense of I grew this, I can feed it to my family.
Right.
Again, it's sort of we evolved fast. Human history's a pretty brief little blip of a
Yeah,
thing, all
yeah.
told. It doesn't feel like it to us, but yeah, when we developed as a species, I don't think we necessarily developed uh, for that concept fully of these ridiculous numbers that I don't have in my bank account.
Well,
I-
well, when I talk to these guys is because I have an interest in it. I mean, I'm ambitious. I want to be a millionaire. I'm striving for that. I have a business and I'm
can do
learning
a
and
lot of good things with it.
yeah, you do. The main thing from what I've understood is it's when you're doing it with friends. It's when you're doing it with
Yes.
other people. That's when it's
Yeah.
like, we're
Yeah.
all doing the thing together. It's not so much the money, it's we're all making money together.
Yes.
We're
And you
all
can
sort of,
create artist jobs.
yeah.
That's a cool thing. If you get, this is the hard thing about fundraising for film, or theater. I have such a knee-jerk hard thing about asking anybody for my, I'll busk on the street. I will take 6 jobs and I'll work them, but I find it really, really like skin tingling hard to ask people for money,
Why is
even
it
for
hard for
art.
you?
It's, it's, um, I ran into the Jewish stereotype a lot growing up, and I hate it so much.
What do you mean?
Um, well, like people throw pennies at you to see if you'll pick them up. Because
Oh my God.
that's it's the stereotype of like, oh, you're greedy, you run the banks. You do not run the banks. But that one cuts really, really deep. So I think I have an overcompensation of like, I don't, I've had people say untoward things or like come up to me and instead of talking about money, they'll talk about shekels, and it's just like, oh, we don't need to do that. But yeah, whenever I fundraise, I have to actively remind myself. And like, there are worse problems in the world, but it's a thing. It's a thing for me. So I overcompensate by hyper independence and
Mhm.
never asking for help if I can help it. But it's not a healthy mindset in the arts because it is so communal. And I'm actively trying to change my neural pathways with this because look, if I make this fundraising, I can hire worthy artists whose work I love and I can pay them a living wage. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to give it to them. And my landlord, he'll be happy. I'm just going to pass it to my artist friends to give them, worth for their work so that they can live too. Probably pass it on to theirs.
How, first of all, that's terrible.
It's a thing. Everybody's got a thing.
Yeah. I think that I'm always struck by how these early experiences they can shape us in a way that we all sometimes have to spend decades
Sure.
unraveling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it gets reinforced emotional because it's an emotional thing because our identity is tied into it, and then we start making decisions and telling ourselves stories going back, and because they're
Yeah.
telling us a story, and then we're telling ourselves a story about the story that's being told to us, and that we're telling ourselves, and then this whole thing gets raveled, and so
Yeah.
that consciousness
And
we were
it
talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, it literally forms the pathways in your brain differently if you reinforce those stories. So, you know,
So that's my question is how are you able, because so many, myself included, there are narratives running around in my brain that are completely opposed to any success and
yeah.
happiness I could ever hope to have. And like
Yes.
it literally grinds against the gears of my, it's literally like I'm running up against granite walls because my
Yep.
soul is like, I want to go here, but the narrative is like so embedded and entrenched that it, it's whatever. And I
Got
don't
to
think
make
I'm
a
alone
different
in that.
narrative. You got to
Right.
make a different narrative by leading by example.
Right. So how have you been able to move in the direction of undoing that for yourself?
Well, I know it's not true, so I have to just go about life, you know,
Okay.
just hopefully like I have some really, really cool, wonderful friends. This fantastic production company. And I hope it's okay to tell their story, but they did a production out in like Mobile, Alabama. And you know, they're visibly not from Mobile, Alabama typically. As you would say, they're from New York. Like they're in New York. They're like from the world, from the global majority, from the world. Um, they were a little worried, you know, they didn't know what they were going to find, and stuff was said, but they were shooting there so long that they did a little exposure therapy by their mere presence, and actually, by the end of the shoot, they had befriended people who kind of shamefacedly said, "Well, I never knew anyone. I've never been outside my city." I kind of call bullshit because we have the internet, but I'll take it.
Right.
Um, it's just making different stories by example, making different narratives by example. And just wherever you encounter stuff, just lovingly go, "That's funny. It isn't true. Let me show you." And you know, it's mine is by no far by far not the most malicious thing. Most people I encounter think that we're in on a joke together. It wasn't necessarily from hate. It was, "Oh, this is my perception. Isn't it funny? We agree on this thing." And I'm like, "No, we don't agree on this thing. This is not the way things are." Maybe it's a lack of exposure. That's my benefit of the doubt belief.
Well, I think it takes courage
Hopefully.
for you to even share that sort of thing because from my perspective, it's I didn't know that, right? And so now I'm like I'm getting a glimpse into wow, okay, that's a different thing. And somebody might be like, oh, she's dealing with that too. She's been able to overcome it and been able to come out on the other side as best she can and still be able to function well and be an intelligent person and
Yeah.
not be warped by it because you could have been warped by those things.
I mean, it's you can get bitter. I think it's weird because Jewish people look like everything because we've lived everywhere, but I think I'm kind of Jewish. So I like visibly go through the world. But it's by far not the most like malicious. I've relatively never had like violent things said or done because of that. But um, you could fill so many libraries with what I don't know. And I just think we have to keep talking to each other. That's what I keep coming back to through this whole thing. Theater is nothing but just talking to each other in the most beautiful, elevated, heightened, lovely way. We just need more of it. That's how. I think that's how.
When when did you start your formal training as an actress?
Well, I went a little bass backwards. Um, I was not really in
Sorry.
the theater department. My light burn bulbed out. I was not really in the theater department in college. Um, I didn't get in because I didn't know what I was doing yet.
Mhm.
And I had a bad audition. But
Been
I
there.
knew I needed yeah, it was bad. I wouldn't have taken it. I was 17. I didn't know. But what I had was a passion for it and a deep, rabid, abiding need for it and a determination to get in that world and roll around in it. I was a painter. Um, and I threw in a Russian minor, I think. And I snuck in spitefully a theater concentration at the very last 5 minutes. But then I had a great opportunity to go to Shakespeare and Company to train. And oh my God, was that heaven to me. What a thrilling time. Um,
Can you talk
and
about
out
it a
of,
little bit?
oh my God, it was heaven. It was such a self-selecting group of people who had the same passion and the same rabid want for this work. And they're just incredibly rich stories. And it was I had such a fantastic group of friends and like, you know, my freaking brethren. I love them. We
Mm,
loved the same thing and we were from everywhere and everyone. And we just had this common love. And oh my God, it was the most beautiful. He's gone now, but met Dennis Krausnick, a wonderful, beautiful artist. And God, they were so generous to us. It was an intensive. I stayed there this summer. They had a summer intensive training program then, and they still train. So people should go and talk to them. But we did this last thing called Elizabethan World Picture Day, and it was, you know, we're theater people. We like ritual. It's fun. But they had us do this beautiful day. We had been working on these sonnets and these pieces, and God, they just go right to your heart.
mm,
And there was such trust with each other because you bond fast if you both love a thing and are thrown into this vulnerable thing with each other and just are eager. Um, and we had this entire day. They let us go out and, go touch grass, go talk to the trees, come back, ring a bell, say our sonnets. And when we came in to do that to this theater, which is just really a room that we all agree is sacred to us for stories. And if we treat it that way, it's magic. They put a hand on each of our hearts and they said, "Welcome home." Those are the two words in the English language I think everyone wants to hear. Welcome home. And wherever you come from, whatever your story is, it's if you find a passion like this, whatever it is, a calling like this, but we're talking about theater, so theater, storytelling, the impractical things fall away. The impractical matters fall away, the stress of it, the impractical, the your family think you're crazy. Mine don't. They're nice, but the legitimate worries about how will you live in a financially based nation where art isn't always supported and valued. That's why we think of it as a calling. Because not only can we have that, we can give it to other people. You see a play that touches you. You read a book that touches you. Someone leaves you words that touch you. And you are welcomed home. Whereas before, you may not have felt that you belonged. And oh my God, I don't want to look at life without anything like that in it. We need that. We need that. We need to feel welcomed home. And we can decide what that home is. But for us, I think it's storytelling. I'll just close with that. I read a wonderful thing recently. It was actually Tolkien. Again, I'm a nerd. Somebody accused him of writing just escapist fantasy. And the man had served in World War I. His son served in World War II. He lived through it. And he didn't take offense. He just said, exactly. I've been a soldier. I've seen prisoners of war. Life can feel like it imprisons you. The details of life, the needs of daily life, the difficulties of life can be a prison. And if you are a good prisoner of war, as a soldier, as a human being, your duty is to escape and to take as many with you as you can. So he said, yes, it is escapist. I feel imprisoned by life, and I, as a good soldier, am trying to escape and take as many of you with me as I can. That might be the most beautiful thing I've ever heard about art. Ever. I read it and it blew my tiny little mind. I love it.
There's something so profound about. I'm currently producing a short film about the global war on terror,
Yeah.
as a Army Ranger who just shortly after September 11th decides to enlist special forces. Unbeknownst to him, his wife is pregnant. His fiance is pregnant. He doesn't know, so he goes, and it's kind of like the fight before he leaves off to war, because he kind of throws, like, he says, "I'm going to enlist," and then he leaves. Um, when I
Hell of
was
a way.
doing, what was that?
Hell of a way to leave.
Yeah, yeah. It's really, it's like this is a man and his mission, but now he's got a family and he doesn't know, right? It's sort of like the split is just like, what do we when do we end up choosing? It's
Yeah, it's the Arthur Miller thing. What is my duty to others?
right. What
Yeah,
is
what do we owe
correct?
to each other?
Correct. Um, when I was doing research for the film, I spoke to several veterans, and one
Yeah.
of the veterans, I remember him saying, he goes, war is pure. He goes, the civilian life is 99% bullshit and 1% pure, and war is 99% pure and 1% bullshit. Meaning the stakes are in warfare are live or die, maimed, your brothers are killed, right? Like it's real. There is permanence. If someone is dead, it's dead. And when you come
Mm.
back home, there's no, we're not living in that sort of life or death generally,
Yeah.
not to that extent every single day. And so I just remember that. And I think a lot of those guys have a great appreciation for this. If you think about these stories, these guys are cracking jokes, they're giving each other shit, or whatever. There's a reason for that. They're in
They're
hell,
helping each other. Yeah.
right? But they have to add that levity to do it. And if you're an outsider looking at it, you're like, why are they doing that? Why are they whatever? Blah, blah, blah. But it's like they're in reality. They have to come out of that because the
Yeah.
reality is so harrowing. So to
They're
your
saving each
point,
other.
what was that?
They're saving each other.
They're saving each other. To your point about J.R.R. Tolkien, he's like, I've been in the trenches.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to go. Yes, I want to go live in fantasy. I've seen life at its truest form, at its
Yeah.
rawest form, and it's like you don't want to be there. And I just find that very interesting. It's like sometimes the greatest critics about stuff that they don't know about are people like in the sidelines that are not in. They're not in the arena. They've never seen
Usually.
it.
Funny
Usually,
about that.
it's
Yeah.
interesting. And Teddy Roosevelt wrote a whole poem, like a thing, the parable about the man in the arena. Where
Yes.
everybody's out there sort of commenting, but the guy's in there bleeding and dying or whatever else.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We should listen to that guy.
so Shakespeare and Company,
Hmm.
and then you trained with them, and then you had your formal, you somehow figured out how to sneak
Yeah.
in theater in there.
I
Walk me
I
through
I
your
went.
transition.
Yeah, I I followed a production to Philadelphia, weirdly. It fell through the day I got there. So I had kind of a wacky adventure. I hope I was intrepid, or at least funny to talk about. I got two jobs very fast because I needed work. They were weird choices. From like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I would drive a horse and buggy. From 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., I was a monster in a haunted house because one of the guys at Shakespeare and Company knew the guy who ran it. And it was kind of like a rough and tumble couple of years in Philly. But as I was working, as I was doing theater and doing some little film and doing stuff, I was dissatisfied. I knew how and where I wanted my work to be. I had no foundational way to achieve it. I had some instincts. We all have some instincts going in, but I was ultimately frustrated by it was like when I was a painter. I would go at 5 a.m. when I was inspired, but if you don't practice your technique, you're going to be stymied by your hands not knowing how to do it without stopping and thinking and figuring it out. You want to train your hands so that when lightning strikes and you're inspired, you are not frustrated by your idiot hands.
Mm.
You just have to get it in your body, whatever your technique is. I researched a bunch of them. I worked like 6 jobs in Philly to save up to move to New York, and I did there's like a double Dutch game. You just got to jump in. So I moved, and I think I did like an Edwardian movement salon,
Oh,
which
that
is like
sounds fun.
17. What a sentence. I was mostly in a corset and sleep deprived, and it was the best time of my life. It was insane. I never slept. I loved it. I started Meisner training with John Desautel at the Desautel studio. I fell in love with the technique. It's incredibly practical, but it has a lot of room for your heart. And it's very flexible, but very structured. And I found out very fast that I wanted to learn to teach it. So I stuck around like an odor. Now they can't get rid of me. And this is where I'm the teaching assistant. I'm the Uncle Feingold to several generations of actor classes, and I'm really privileged at that trust. I love it. I hopped in with a company here. I learned to direct by shadowing John. He invited me to shadow him. I was afforded fantastic opportunities here, just to like essentially haunt the theater and learn everything from everyone that I could. It was great. And I'm still here, literally right now.
What's next for you?
I'm getting into film. I'm getting into, it's intimidating. I'm intimidating, but I'm trying not to let that on. I've started writing. I have a short film that I'm trying to produce. I got to fundraise so I can pay my people, but I wrote a short film about the foster care system and also who gets to be a parent. It's kind of, it sounds oversimplified, but I'm sort of also a love letter to my slightly burned out hometown. I said it in 1985, which felt right. My hope is that people will see the film and go, oh, thank God the foster care system has changed. Oh, wait. So I'm hoping to draw attention to that. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. We're also about to open with Nuance Theater. We are about to open 2 adaptations of Edgar Allan Poe stories. We're doing The Black Cat and The Telltale Heart, and I'm so stoked. We have 2 fantastic actors, Dan Waiulo and Jake Lesh. We have such a cool design team, Brian McManaman and Giovanni Villari. They're like mad geniuses, and I'm hanging on by their coattails and learning everything I can about that. So we open that in October, so stay tuned for that.
October of 2025 for the people
This
there.
This one we are in this very moment. I'm going to rehearsal after this.
I love it.
Yep, we're having a good time.
I love it. And what's the, I know you're doing the Lady Macbeth film. Have you guys gotten some sort of a window potentially when that's going to happen for you?
We are aiming for 2026. It's ambitious, but so are we. We just love the story too much to drop it. We can't leave it alone. We are in talks with investors and putting together a really beautiful team. And it's cool because since it's film, you're not constrained necessarily by the doubling. So we want to give more beautiful actors like yourself beautiful work to come to. So that is our aim. Spread the word.
I love it. Judith
And
Feingold.
you, how about you?
How me? I am producing a short film about that I just mentioned. I've just been cast as Laertes in Hamlet.
Hey,
I'm auditioning for the American Shakespeare Center. Hopefully I get cast and I'll be doing Shakespeare and wearing costume and speaking received pronunciation for the next year, which I think would
American
be really cool.
Shakespeare Theater, you should hire him. Sending the vibes and sending them. I'm casting all my spells.
Thank you. Send me good juju. Yeah, it's been a dream of mine to work with them for a very long time. There are 2 people from what's called the Shakespeare Forum here in New York.
Yes.
They were former members, Tyler Moss and Sybil Brune, and they're extraordinary theater artists. They're
Shakespeare Forum too.
Yeah. To me, they're what theater artists I think are should be and are, and they're just incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly talented. And I'm just lucky enough. I'm lucky that I get to sort of soak in all that energy and all that stuff. And because it can be rare to sort of find those self-selecting groups of people. And when you find them, it's so valuable. And you want to be a part of it. So that's what's going on for me. I'm an online Shakespeare coach. So anybody who needs premium Shakespeare coaching, I'm your guy. Yeah, and I'm interviewing awesome people like yourself, and I'm just gonna keep doing this, and giving back and taking and giving and taking and giving, and doing this whole thing. I'm on the journey
Doing the
like everyone
thing.
else. So
I so admire what you're doing. Thank you so much for doing this.
thank
And
you very much.
for anyone listening who doesn't know, he's so brilliant. I got to see him audition. He's ridiculously brilliant. You should cast him. What are you doing?
I
Go,
appreciate
go.
it.
Do a play and cast him right now. Stop. Get off the internet.
Thank you. Judith Feingold, thank you for your time. Thank you for your story. And
Thank you.
yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Uncle Feingold out.
Talk soon. Bye. Bye, guys.